use maybe for decades, maybe augmented reality or very particular use cases outside of gaming, but despite the massive investments being parked into it by companies we all know and love, I can't see a use case there, and from the implication of your talk is that you can, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as to why I'm wrong, or maybe read one of your papers as to why I'm wrong. So I just sort of park that. The more important question, I guess, is that, yes, we've got governments, as your talk showed us, dipping their toe into various, sometimes niche use cases. When we look at use cases that could have massive benefits, that are roles central to government, I'm thinking things like patents, which I know you mentioned, company registration, land titles, things like that. Large implementations that either in whole or in part could have a massive benefit for blockchain, immutability, transparency, etc. I get the feeling that you've buried the lead. You mentioned cybersecurity as one little mention in one dot point on one slide there. When the government is prepared to make more than just put the toe in the water and actually do a wholesale change, as we saw with the census a few years ago, if it gets screwed up, public servants, politicians get embarrassed, careers end, and it's a fairly huge deal. So even if there is a large case there, if there is a system that basically works, not perfectly, but sort of works, and I think those three examples are examples of that: patents, company registration, land titles, I'm sure there's many others. How do you get government over the hump of making that change to get all the blockchain benefits, considering the risks? I guess that's my key question.
Thank you. I'll start with the first comment on the metaverse. Look, we have, in my view, normally we think about the metaverse based on what the meta version is sold out there. I think there is a lot more. Definitely, I think when it comes to use cases, so far we have seen more into the gaming, as I said, and more into all this virtual world. In my opinion, what we see in the metaverse right now is nothing really on what the metaverse should be and it could be. We're definitely scratching the surface at the moment, and this is why, as I said, I was very cautious in terms of not fully mixing what blockchain can do when it comes to the metaverse. So definitely there is potential, and this is why I think very, very slow steps are happening. And what I find very interesting is the fact that there is some interest to sit down and discuss. But definitely, and I fully agree with you, we're very far away to really have a scalable use case that the digital government and public sector could benefit from. And again, many of these things are just very, very slow steps to see what that could potentially look like and where the intervention of blockchain could bring. But again, in this particular context, things are really, really slow. When it comes to the next question, you're absolutely right. I think one of the key issues when it comes to utilizing not just only blockchain, but in general, these kind of technologies in the public space is the erosion of trust and also the reputational damage. And you're absolutely right, because the digital government, the public sector is very much linked to politics, linked to all this kind of stuff that creates additional pressure. So I think what all these governments are actually trying to do at the moment is they're trying to pilot in a small scale and see if that works, first of all. What can we learn? Because let's not forget also one of the biggest challenges of blockchain technology is scalability, and this is what all of these massive institutions, including Algorand, are doing at the moment. They're trying to build the infrastructure that can hold scalable and can scale and grow very, 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 very quickly at exponential levels. Again, I think the public sector will only move massively if there is a technology that can actually tick all the boxes that they want them to tick. But on the other hand, we have to think that governance will also have to change if we try to bring a technology in which decentralization sits at its ethos into this kind of public space. There is a discourse saying that if a blockchain is not public, it's not blockchain at all, then we can debate that for hours and hours and hours. My thought is that it's technology that can enable change, but currently in this particular context, very, very embryonic. But at least there is willingness to discuss and explore what would that look like, maybe in some cases which is safer to do rather than going into very sensitive information, data, and all this kind of stuff.
Public sectors. So, in your views, how do we treat blockchain as if a product or service or platform or something else? Thank you.
Okay, that's a great question. For me, the way that I see currently in the context of the public sector is basically blockchain as an infrastructure, and also blockchain as a service when it comes to private-public technology partnerships. This is how I would see it, at least in this particular context and in the current setting.